WHOU 100.1 FM. Good morning, I'm Jason, and joining me on the phone this morning is Mr. Tim and Debbie Bishop, and they are co-authors of the book Two Are Better, Midlife Newlyweds Bicycle Coast to Coast. And how you doing this morning?
Great.
Good morning, Jason.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I got to tell you, after reading and learning about your coast-to-coast trip, it reminded me a lot of my sister. Of course, my sister hiked the Appalachian Trail and met her fiancé that way. This is really inspiring what you folks have done. Now, can you talk a little bit about how you got the idea to travel coast to coast?
We got married in June of 2010. Actually got engaged in April of 2010. And moments after our Debbie saying, yes, I will marry you, we kind of floated out the idea about a coast-to-coast bicycle trip. And we didn't really lock it down. We only had, we wanted to get married fairly quickly. And so we just had the idea out there, but we knew we were going to be busy getting ready for a wedding in short order. At the same time, I was winding down a 26-year work career. So we had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I was still in school. I teach school, so I was there till the end of June 17th that year. So we sat on top of Cadillac Mountain after Tim asked me to marry him, and we said, why don't we bike across the country on our honeymoon? So we did.
Yeah, it took a few weeks to digest that idea, but as things got rolling, it was like, why wouldn't we do this? We're not getting any younger, and I hadn't known at the time, but Debbie had always wanted to do that trip, and I kind of thought it would be a cool thing, and we hadn't really shared doing it together until after we decided to get married.
Now, let me ask you this. After living 52 years as singles, why marry?
Oh, because we love each other. And, we both were praying for a partner for a long time. And we were friends for a really long time. And we actually met online, and that was back in 2003. So here we have 2010, and I was very ready to marry Tim, and you can tell the rest of that.
Yeah, no, it was a long, sought-after dream to have a special companion, and there was no doubt that I wanted to be married. It was just who I would marry, and Debbie was the right person, and she came along. So it was a great time in our life, and continues to be.
Absolutely, it certainly sounds it. Well, here's a question. How do you feel about undertaking such a journey after being married for only 2 weeks?
That was interesting. Actually, the first couple weeks of the bike tour, we flew out to Oregon, and the first couple, I'd say probably the first 15 days, I was really not sure I wanted to do this, and I thought about flying back and letting Tim, do the bike trip by himself. But I realized I am married and I do need him, and so after that it just kind of fell into place. We got stronger, we got in better shape, and we got to know each other really well.
Yeah, I think when we started out, it was kind of like marriage, I would say. You have these fantasies about what it's like. And when we got out on the bicycle trail, we soon realized that the fantasy turned into reality, and it was a fair amount of work.
And compromise.
But it became very enjoyable. I mean, it was phenomenal to be able to see new places every single day. I'd never been in any of these areas out west and in the Midwest, and it was just as cool as can be.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I had come from Colorado, but the Northwest was the place I always wanted to be, and I mean, just sharing that together was really great.
And when we went into this trip, Jason, we really didn't know how well we would do with it. We bought maps that would get us all the way across the country, but, we had no idea whether we'd be going, to Montana and flying back or
Sure.
or just how it would develop. So,
What would you say was the most difficult part of the experience on this trip?
Probably the beginning was really difficult, and there was one day, we always call it the Umatilla experience, where I was just sort of being a brat, really, and kind of selfish, and I wanted to have more fun, and actually the bike trip was pretty hard work. So I was, telling Tim something, and I don't know, I just said, I wish you were more fun, and he's like, well, I'm your husband, so, you need to listen to me, and so that was probably a low point. But then after that, it was, we worked it out, and things got better. So it was, we just had a few of those times.
Yeah, Debbie and I have a different approach to things. She's very much go for it and worry about it later, and I'm more about planning ahead and watching where you step in case you might step on something that will bite you. So it was interesting to see how we needed to reconcile those things as we went. And to your original question about what was most difficult, I don't know if it was most difficult or not, but certainly saddle sores presented a challenge for us. We had to stop for a few days at one point just to recover. And, might not have been a problem if we were 25, but at 52, it's a little more of a problem.
Yeah.
Now, you've written a book about this experience. Is that correct?
Yes.
It is.
Okay. Talk about the book a little bit. What's the name? What do you mention in the book, and where can people find it?
The name of the book is Two Are Better, Midlife Newlyweds Bicycle Coast to Coast. We just landed a distributor in early May, so books are still kind of making their way through channels into the book trade.
Good for you.
The books can currently be found at Country North Gifts and Crafts in Houlton. You go down and see Robin there, and she'll fix you right up. And Lamb's Book and Bible in Bangor stocks the book, but we'll certainly be looking at getting a little broader distribution as we get working with our distributor. And the book can also be purchased online at our website, which is www.openroadpress.com. It's full color throughout, so we've taken the beautiful photography that we had on our trip and integrated that with our story. And since we have color inside, we had Debbie's words in magenta and mine in black, so the reader gets both perspectives on this.
Well, I think it's great that you took the time to write a book about this. And, I'm sure a lot of people can read this book and learn a lot from the experiences that you're writing about. What suggestions would you have for couples that are just starting out?
Yeah, I guess the whole thing would be really to be friends first and to get to know each other, as much as possible. And also the whole compromise thing. We did some premarital counseling, and we took a test called the Enrich test, and it kind of showed us where our strengths were and what we needed to work on and what weak points we might have. And just having that awareness was helpful to see. One of the things they said about us was we were very good at conflict resolution. And just when we do have a conflict, I kind of think about that, like we can work this out. And I think it really is about realizing that we made a commitment, and, just that provides all kinds of safety and respect and peace, really, when you think about it.
What Debbie said is really good advice. I guess being the cautious one, for me, it would be, make sure that you're making the right decision with the right person. And it's better to take your time on this. Debbie and I are hope coaches for an organization called the hopeline.com, and we typically deal with all sorts of dating relationship issues when we help out kids on some of these questions. And that is one of the things is don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. And actually, I was just going to ask you about Hopeline. What is the mission of Hopeline?
You can either chat in or dial in, call in by phone. It's an 800 number, It's fronted by a radio ministry of Dawson McAllister, who's a longtime youth pastor, and he promotes this toll-free phone number and internet chat for kids that are in crisis. Actually, it's more than just kids. It's people aged 13 to 29.
Mm-hmm.
So those individuals would contact the Hope line either by chat or by phone and get a Hope coach on the other end of the line. And in our case, we're Hope coaches, and we work right out of our home. With the computer technology they have, you can actually work out of your home. And I say work, it's volunteer work. We don't get paid for this. But it's really neat. They have a great organization there and a great structure to deal with chats and phone calls. And their mission is to reach, rescue, and restore hurting teens and young adults. So it's a privilege to be a part of that.
And folks, if you've just tuned in, we've been talking to Tim Bishop and Debbie Bishop, who have written a book called To Our Better, Midlife Newlyweds Bicycle Coast to Coast. What can somebody take away from your book if they read it?
Well, there's lots they can take away. I'm glad you asked that, because it's more than just a travelogue, and it's more than just a story about us.
Actually, we spoke at a church the other day, and we put together a presentation that really talks about the lessons that we learned on the road. If it's okay with you, we could read some of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, first of all, To Our Better. Just the fact that we would not have wanted to do this alone, the bike trip, or obviously marriage we couldn't do alone. And also that we don't live forever. And one of the things we're both realizing, too, in midlife is that you don't want to be stuck. Sometimes people say at our age, oh, well, I've done all I can. There's nothing really else to do or whatever. But just to not stay stuck, to keep on learning, and especially to not let fear cripple you.
One of the taglines on the back of the book is "Go for it." And Dave Harbison, a friend from Houlton, who was very close to the family and my mother, reminded me after we put that out on the book that was something Mom always used to say, go for it. Mm. But that's one thing we put on the back, is to go for it. And when you go for it, you can't look back and question what you've done. You need to plow forward, and hopefully you walk in faith with that decision. And also, as you go, you can't be encumbered. I mean, we get so bogged down in life, and one of the themes is to simplify. We were out on the road with nothing but our bicycles and 4 bags hung off the racks with all of the stuff we needed for 2 months. And it was a lot more fun than being in the apartment watching TV.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, folks, it's been a pleasure having you talk this morning. I'm really, really thrilled to be able to talk to you folks. One more time, your book, To Our Better, Midlife Newlyweds Bicycle Coast to Coast.
And if I also may, we have an event coming up. We're going to be in the Houlton area on June 1st, and it's coinciding with the GHCA Bike-a-thon on that day.
Yes.
We plan to bike, and then we're going to be dropping by Country North Gifts and Crafts in the afternoon from 2 to 3:30 to sign books and just talk with folks. And then the Bike-a-thon has a benefit supper at the Littleton Museum that evening from 4:30 to 6:30. We will be there selling and signing books as well and just sharing stories. So that would be great to connect with folks. And our website is www.openroadpress.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you very much, Debbie. It's been a pleasure, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks
Likewise.
so much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.